One of the things that I want to offer you is to look at the standard of the now that loves you because you exist. It just loves you. It doesn't say you need to change something. And you might go, well, if I don't have that standard, then I won't pay the bills. You got it backwards. You got it backwards. You enough is going to run courses and do stuff and create stuff, and you'll fill areas that you didn't know that you needed to fill. And from there, you're on a higher level of receiving that you don't understand, right? You don't need motivation. You need to be full. A point has come up through many different one-on-ones this week that I think really is going to help us with what we're going through right now. Who's going through a little bit of a hard time, new emotions, feeling something kind of crazy, feeling lost? Who's feeling like nuts right now? Who's feeling just off and confused and pain? Awesome. Well, take in that so many other people are. If you just look in the chat, you'll see so many people going, yep, it's a crazy, crazy, crazy time. It really is. It's a really crazy time. It's not just like, oh, is this a weird time for me? No, this is really a surreal time. And all humanity is looking at it like, what is going on? And one of the things that I think would bring so much freedom to talk about is what this is like for people who grew up learning drive, motivation, making things happen, having really high standards. I notice the theme when I work with people who are in the older category. If you're over 40, if you grew up in the 80s or 70s or earlier, you're very used to a world that says, you got to do something with your life. You got to make it happen. You got to, when you were in the 80s, I remember I had a trapper keeper, and the trapper keeper would have a picture of some $200,000 car, right? There'd be a Lamborghini on it, right? And when you went to school in the early 80s, you had this binder, and then all these other kids also had their Ferrari Testarossa, and we all had our high vibration car. Like we all had these goals, really make it happen, make a ton of money, right? In the 80s and earlier, there were people talking about real estate and how to make so much money. There was a young Donald Trump who had a book called The Art of the Deal, and a lot of people wanted to be that. Like that was a thing that was in our system. Motivation, make it happen, right? And there were so many other examples of that. Like when you went to a movie, the stars were like totally ripped, right? You had this Arnold Schwarzenegger, Sly Stallone type thing going on. So like everyone would look like the greatest body possible. And life was, I got to find this high standard of myself. And in this time, that's not going to work. In this time, you incredibly motivated and driven is not necessarily what's going to help you in this time, because this time isn't about making it happen. And I have discovered in a lot of different clients that I worked with in the last couple of weeks is the pain that they feel is that there's always a very high standard that says they should be somewhere other than where they are. It's not only motivation, it's just everything should be different than where I am. I should be better than this. I should know better than this. Like think of all the little sentences you have that are just a stressful, shaming, high standard on yourself. I should have the top quality everything. I should be number one. I should be whatever, the best life coach in the world. I should be totally healthy. I should have no illness at all. Like we have this very, 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 very high bar that we learned from a long time ago, right? And the idea that we have is if we don't feel a constant pain and force and judgment on ourselves, that we won't achieve anything, right? That we should be different. Are you with me? That we should be something different. We should be achieving, we should be, but we can't just achieve if we're just okay with ourselves here in the moment. That's the belief. You can't just achieve something if you're actually just present and okay with yourself. You have to always feel crazy darkness, crazy lack, and you need to have this motivated goal, and you always should feel like shit about where you are right now. So one of the things that I ended up saying to 4 or 5 different clients in the last week is we need to lower your standards, because your standard is just a judgment of where you are. It's almost, you think it's there to drive you, but it's really just judgment. And when you have that, you're going to have a shadow of shame. You have, this is where I should be. Well, I didn't achieve it this minute, so I'm a terrible person. I'm a piece of shit. I'm a failure. And then you keep that failure and that lack feeling and that darkness, and you go, okay, I'm going to change it. And the only way I can is if I shame myself. Who thinks the only way that you can make something happen is if you feel guilty or shame? Like, you won't achieve anything if you don't feel some negative, dark thing. Does anyone have that? I have to feel like I'm not enough, because I won't motivate myself if I don't, right? This is what I hear a lot. And this is definitely the training of people who grew up a while ago, right? It's in my body too. Like, I should be somewhere else. I should be farther, right? Well, if I feel like crap or I'm up against a wall, you know, then maybe I'll have a drive to change, right? So some people are saying no, many people are saying yes. I want to talk to you about the standard of the now, right? The now's standard for you, which is a fact. Like, the now, this now just loves you. Now, here's the thing that you're scared of, the ego is scared of. If I'm just enough now, then I won't do anything. If I'm just enough now, nothing will get done. And I'm here to tell you the opposite is actually the truth. In other words, the old way that you should feel bad to drive yourself to do something won't work anymore. It might have worked a long time ago. That might have been a thing. It might have been the highest we understood was making something happen. But if you could allow yourself to receive the actual truth that you're enough right now, the fear is, I won't do anything. I'll be lazy. I know yesterday I felt really off, and I decided to lie down in the bed. I was feeling a little off. I was feeling actually a little bit sad, depressed and everything. And I was lying in the bed, and it was just like, just make it okay that I'm lying in the bed. Like, stop saying you should be motivated. Stop saying you should be whatever. You should be doing extra work. Stop saying you should be, and hear that you're being present with this inner child. And I just lied in bed and was lazy and did everything that everyone would say, oh, they're becoming, you know, they're separating themselves from society. They're getting depressed. It's like, no, it's fine. I just need to let myself lie down and feel like crap, right? And weirdly, that ran its course. At one point, that ran its course because I heard it, versus saying I'm just too lazy and then staying on top of it and keeping a drive going that ignores this. There was a little story inside of me that says, I would love to know that I'm enough, even if I'm not impressing anyone. I would love to know that I'm enough, even if I'm not fixing anything. I would love to know that I'm enough, even if I'm not working out for a minute. And I just let myself have a huge nap. I let myself feel like crap. And I just said, you want to do this, so I'm going to be here with you. And then, you know, it ran its course because I wasn't arguing with it, right? It ran its course because I wasn't fighting it, saying, we got to get motivated, right? And then it just got motivated naturally because it was time to. And I noticed something always gets done. Are you with me on that? Something always still gets done. You just got to learn to follow what the truth is of what you need. You can hear it. You can hear, I should work out, but my body wants to like just put the phone away and go lie down. You can hear, I should make it happen, but my body literally wants to watch $1 Million Password with Betty White. There was that's what I watched the other day. It's like, I should call someone to hang out, but I want to just go eat at a restaurant alone. Can you hear these little things that are the things that you think you're not supposed to think, right? I just want to go be alone. Maybe you need to learn that for a minute, right? And so what I want to offer you is the lowering of the egoic standard that says you're not enough and you gotta be something else. You gotta make everything in the world happen. And I wanna dare you to replace it with the now. The now just loves you, period. So this is why meditation is such a big deal, because when I listen for an hour or two a day, I hear nothing but love. I just hear now, or I hear silence. And I notice the little standards kicking in, going, I should. And then I notice them kind of break apart as this now loving me is actually, ironically, a much less pressure standard, a much lower standard in one way, but a much higher standard in the other way. You receiving the love of this now is actually so much more powerful than you being stressful, right? And you being annoyed and you needing to get somewhere else, right? This moment loves you. Can you align with that? Can you align with the standard of the now, which always starts you from, you're enough now? Imagine if you decided to start creating something from enoughness, right? Everything's enough, whether you create the biggest company in the world or you're cleaning the sink, you're enough no matter what. Can you find that's the truth? And notice that the now doesn't go, one thing is bigger than the other. The now goes, what would you like to do? Not what do you think you should do? You will start creating and moving with source in a way that you had no idea was there, and you will lose that should energy. So one of the things that I want to offer you is to look at the standard of the now that loves you because you exist. It just loves you. It doesn't say you need to change something. And you might go, well, if I don't have that standard, then I won't pay the bills. You got it backwards. You got it backwards. You enough is going to run courses and do stuff and create stuff, and you'll fill areas that you didn't know that you needed to fill. And from there, you're on a higher level of receiving that you don't understand, right? You don't need motivation. You need to be full, right? Motivation sometimes overlooks a ton of stuff in here, places of lack, not enoughness, whatever. And then it creates a drive that's like over it, right? I want you to be full. I want all the parts inside of your body that are feeling off to be held, to be heard, right? I want the parts of you that feel like you're not enough to be heard. The shame that might be existing in your body right now, that you might use in the past, you might have been bringing motivation in to run from the shame. I've noticed that with a lot of people. I have shame in my body, so I got to have motivation so I never feel it. Okay, well, if my daughter came into the room here and felt shame and I started running from her with a whole new set of goals, think of how avoided she would feel. Like your motivation is abandoning parts of you. Now, what if instead we get present and we listen to the now, and it loves the shamed, it loves the lost, it loves the scared, it loves the abandoned, it loves the abused, it loves the lost. I promise you more will happen, but it's because you will be so receptive because you're open and you hear the real truth of you, and you become bigger and more full than anything that you think will complete you. So you become, it's so easy for things to come to you because your fullness is with you. I want to offer you, find your own fullness in the now, which starts by understanding everything's okay right now. Everything's okay. I promise you, all the motivation in the world will still happen, but as a byproduct of you not thinking the thing outside of you is bigger than you. Megan says, it's such a foreign feeling. It is, but that doesn't mean it's not the highest truth, right? Some of the things that you're used to feeling aren't better. Do you understand this? Some of the things that you're used to feeling, just because you're used to it doesn't mean it's more you, right? Just because you're used to it doesn't mean it's more you. What you truly are, you might not be used to it at all, but it's still what you truly are, right? Like an actor and a character. If an actor played a character since they were born, if Michael Keaton was playing Beetlejuice from when he was 3 years old, he would feel unfamiliar with being Michael Keaton at one point, and he would be more familiar with playing Beetlejuice, but that character's still a lie, right? So when you get motivated, it's like you're getting your character motivated that's blocking all the true aspects of you. I want to know who the actor is behind this character you call you. Who's playing the role, right? And this weekend, we're going to look at that quite a bit. I think this weekend, we're going to bring a lot of meditation in. We're going to bring a lot of space in. We're going to hear a higher frequency that's trying to do so much for you and so much for the world that we usually ignore because we're going to egoically motivate ourselves. This egoically motivating, egoic breakthroughs, right? When you're like, you're trying to make yourself cry, you're trying to get through it, it's going to kill that part. I want to remind you, who would you rather have be the boss here? Would you rather be the universe's boss where you tell the universe what you want? Or would you rather surrender to what the universe wants for you and let the universe be the boss? Right? A lot of people forget who's in charge. We tell the universe, please help me find the love of my life. Well, now you've just made the all-amazing universe your servant, right? But if you just go, okay, life is going to tell me so many things. I don't need to be motivated because my motivation is ignoring all of the things that life is going to show me, right? Motivation is you not caring about what it has for you. Someone just said, what is that? How does that work with things like the 100-day challenge? You still honor yourself if you break your own commitment? So the 100-day challenge is me listening and actively showing up and letting the story of Kyle die into what this space is. So what the 100-day challenge is for me is I wake up and I just listen for at least an hour. And usually in the second half an hour, the idea of anything that I want for myself starts to collapse. And you start to move into this oneness with all of it, right? So my attempt is to actively listen to the universe and let life tell me what it wants, much more than me telling life what I want, right? Michelle says, I keep falling asleep. Let yourself fall asleep, then wake up. That'll change. Obviously there's aspects of deep sleep in your body that usually aren't there because you have a character that's kind of sitting on top of them, doing things to avoid that. I'm getting great sleep now. So everyone take a deep breath in and release it. And I want to offer you to let go of a stressful, high standard that says you should be more abundant right now, that says you're not enough, that says you should be with a partner or in a divorce by now or over an addiction. You're supposed to be exactly where you are. You won't believe how much more can change if you accept where you are. The now is just telling you, I love you. Start from I'm loved.
I believe that 2022 could be really magical if you have an understanding of what's going on and do the constant work of really being in surrender and letting the universe remove from your body what you're not. Join me and my team for an insane, powerful 2-day event, and join us on the Absolutely Everything Pass. Join a community of people who are in the same work as you. I can't wait to see you there.